So we got to the main event, and I kind of want to preface it. I think the UFC made the decision to market Kevin Holland's trash. I don't even know if trash talking is the right way to put it because he's just talking. He's not even always talking trash. The man just part of his game is not being able to shut up in the octagon, probably at all times, but you see that in the cage. And the UFC made a big deal about this leading up to the fight. So obviously there was going to be a lot of interest in it during the fight. And I think that was I don't, a mistake on their end in that it stole a bit of the narrative of this fight of like, man, Holland needs to stop talking and like start working harder. And I don't think that was the story of this fight. I think Holland just had no answers for Derek Brunson's strength and grappling. And he's just a talker. Like he win, lose, draw. He's gonna be talking before, during, and after, and it really has nothing to do with how the fight's going. You saw in that Jacare knockout, like he's on the bottom getting punched in the face, talking, and that time it resulted in like a 1 in 10,000 spectacular knockout. But most times he's just going to get punched in the face and keep talking. So it was a pretty dominant performance from Brunson in the grappling throughout 5 rounds. In the first round, Holland slipped on his feet and Brunson like swarmed in as he always does, throws a bomb in close, and then goes right to the grappling, which is set up off that bomb that kind of netted him the first round. Then in the second round, Holland landed that nice right hand that I talked about, always locked and loaded, wobbled Brunson, didn't sit him down, but he had to like duck, recover. Holland swarms him, and Brunson again just manages to take it to the ground in the clinch. And that just sets the tone of the fight, right? Like, okay, this guy can hurt me on the feet and I can take him down. And once I do take him down, I can control him pretty effectively and win rounds. So why wouldn't you just keep going to that? I It wasn't the most exciting grappling, which was a bit disappointing to Brunson's credit. And in his defense, in the second round, he looked for full mount, got it, tried to land something, and Holland immediately scrambled out of it, and Brunson had to work hard to maintain control. So it's not like he didn't look for anything like that at all during the fight. It's just when he did, it got reversed pretty close. And that's just kind of the state of grappling in MMA. If you go into full mount, your opponents almost always seem to have the answer and the ability to just buck you off and possibly even reverse position. So you have to be really confident to go there. He did do his best to land powerful strikes in full guard, and the reach of Kevin Holland was very effective and just always having like arms up, framing, defending those blows coming down. So yeah, it wasn't that like Dagestani dominance style of wrestling that leads to mistakes and finishes. It was, I don't want to call it lay and pray because I do think Brunson was genuinely working hard to generate power in the strikes he was throwing from full guard, like a la a Frankie Edgar. But Holland's defense was good enough to subvert that. He kept the body triangle for a large part, which in a large effect nullifies Brunson's ability from full guard to posture up and get too much distance to get power on those strikes. And you saw Brunson gassing, which also speaks to how hard he was trying to throw those strikes. The one other thing I wanted to highlight was Brunson had a my favorite takedown of the fight was in the fourth round where he did my favorite thing where he was striking, throwing hooks, gets close, goes for a body lock. Holland worries about the body lock. Brunson goes back to the hooks and then finds the takedown off of that. Just when you're a high level grappler coming in, you go match up against all these fantastic strikers and have so many training camps. Your striking gets to a high enough level that you can mix the two beautifully. And I think Derek Brunson embodies that so nicely. And this was a just solid performance from him. A lot of the takedowns did kind of just look like a power difference. And you heard Kevin Holland, I think it was between the fourth and fifth round, in his corner saying, like, guys, I believe in me too, but fuck. Just he he couldn't handle the strength once Brunson got his hands locked, and he talked about moving down to welterweight, which would be interesting. I think he came in at 183 for this fight, which speaks to the ability possibly to make welterweight. It's funny because welterweight and middleweight kind of reversed right now, where welterweight has guys like Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman at the top of the division, like real grapplers, whereas welterweight, Derek Brunson's kind of the highest ranked grappler, and when you get higher, you've got like a Till, a Whitaker, a Costa, all strikers. So the top of the welterweight is not going to be an escape from grappling if that's what Kevin Holland is hoping for, but maybe he just thinks if the athleticism and power and strength are more evenly matched, he'll have a better shot, because it certainly looked like a strength mismatch last night. As for Derek Brunson, I love the Paulo Costa call out. I don't think Paulo Costa is capable of being in a boring fight. So if you didn't like this one for that, you know that this next one, or a matchup with Costa, will either see Brunson knocked out and you're satisfied, or Costa knocked out and you're satisfied. I mean, Izzy's camp hates taking rematches where they look dominant. And you're seeing that play out with Whitaker struggling to get a title shot. So I feel like Brunson's got an even tougher, more arduous road ahead of him to earn that. But Paulo Costa win would put him, I think, one away from one. So I'd love to see Brunson versus Costa. Just that one could be a firefight. No one's really successfully grappled with Costa, so it'd be nice to see Brunson, after having a strength advantage, maybe have a strength disadvantage, and see how he deals with that. If he can do what he did to Holland, I think Costa, or to Costa, that I think he'd be well in discussion for a title shot.